Hello everyone, Rocco Ancora here, Canson Infinity Ambassador, and today I'm going to talk to you about artistic expression through paper choice. Printing is all about completing your vision as an artist, and different paper stocks will express your vision in a very different way. In this short video, I'm going to share with you some of my favorite Canson Infinity papers, and hopefully offer you some insights on how to make an informed decision when choosing your paper. When we look at fine art printing is made up of two beasts, if you like. One of those beasts is the scientific side, the color management side, the side that no one really wants to know anything about because it can appear complex and frustrating and mundane. But it is the most important part, really, in order for us to achieve good prints. And look, in color management, it doesn't have to be complex. It's about setting up workflows and systems in place that once they are in place, you lock them in and you don't touch them. And knowing that the resulting print will be as good as it can be. The other side, of course, is the artistic side. And when we look at paper and the artistic side of printing, it's all about the aesthetics. It's all about what the paper brings to the table as far as expressing your vision as an artist. Okay, so now let's have a look at some papers and let's have a look at how I sort of categorize my papers in my photography. I like to put them in two different boxes. One is for everyday printing and the other one, of course, is for fine art printing. Now, for everyday printing, you want a paper that is cost effective, durable, and it's easy to manage. Everyday printing, I'm talking about just generic reprints for your clients. You might want to use them for just, enlargements, whatever it may be. Okay, so everyday printing papers, cost effective, durable, easy to manage. The other side of the coin, of course, is the fine art papers for all your fine art printing. These papers are used for producing wall arts, for exhibitions, for competition. And the most important aspect about these papers, of course, is that they are archival. And the minute a print is archival, it becomes, especially if you're a domestic photographer, it becomes a historical document, it becomes like a family heirloom that can be passed on to generation. This adds an incredible amount of value to your work. And of course, if you're an artist and you're exhibiting and you're selling your work, you want to make sure that your print stands the test of time. And an investor in a piece will have peace of mind knowing that the image isn't going to degrade over time. So the archival aspect of fine art printing is extremely important. Let's have a look at the resin-coated photo papers. These are the least expensive and most common papers on the market. Their surfaces range from luster to glossy to semi-gloss, pearl, satin, and more, of course. Two of my favorites in the Canson range are the Photo Satin Premium RC. I love the surface on this paper. It is very satin, very matte, and holds light just beautifully. And of course, the other one is the Photo Luster 310 GSM. This does have a little bit more of a luster, a little bit more of a sheen. And it really, between the two papers, it really depends on what you're printing. But both will give you very, very, very similar results. The luster, of course, just having a little bit more sheen to it. We then go on to the fine art papers, the fine art printing papers. And in that, there are two distinct roads you can take, or two distinct style of papers. One, of course, is the matte art paper, and the other one, of course, is the Baryta style art papers. Now, a lot of people, when we're referring to the Baryta style art papers, refer to those as coated papers. Let me just say that all inkjet papers, in order for them to become usable for an inkjet printer, have to be coated with an inkjet receptive layer. Okay, it's just that Baryta style papers are coated differently than the matte art papers. Okay, so I hope that that's not too confusing. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the other considerations when choosing a fine art paper. For fine art printing, the substrate or paper used must be archival, and we've already discussed earlier just how important that is. They must be acid-free, in other words, 100% cotton or rag base. It must also be free from optical brightening additives. What does that mean? Optical brightening additives are chemicals that paper manufacturers can put into their papers to make the paper appear white. Now, the problem with this is that over time, this chemical actually degrades the paper, and the paper tends to turn yellow and degrade the overall image. A perfect example of that is newsprint. Newspapers, when you buy them on the day, they look fairly white. Cut out your favorite article, stick it in a cupboard and look at it in a few months, and you'll see that the paper has actually gone yellow. And of course, this process is somewhat accelerated if the paper is exposed to UV. So we've got to make sure that optical brightness additives are not added to the paper in order for the paper to be archival. And of course, it's got to be compliant with ISO 9706. So let's have a look at the Baryta papers. They get their term from the chemical compound used to coat the surface, which is barium sulfate. Now, barium sulfate is what was used to coat our traditional darkroom papers. So these papers here have the look and feel of the traditional darkroom black and white fibre-based papers that I used to love using back in the day, back in the darkroom. These papers produce an extremely high Dmax, in other words, very, very rich blacks. Okay, they have a wide gamut, good contrast, and good sharpness. Let's take a look at my favorite Baryta paper in the Canson Infinity range, and that's the Baryta Prestige 340 GSM. It's quite a thick paper, but this paper does feel heavy and luxurious. It is really, really a beautiful paper. It does have the barium sulfide coating, as for the traditional silver halide paper. It is acid-free, alpha cellulose and cotton rag base. Smooth, satin-like surface. This will give you outstanding results both for color prints and for black and white prints. It has an extremely wide gamut, good contrast and sharpness. The thing with this paper here that I noticed when I first printed on it is that the image doesn't appear to actually sit on top of the paper. It kind of sits in the paper. So when you look at it under light, it gives you this beautiful homogeneous surface, which is really, really lovely. Another one of my favorite papers in that range, of course, and this paper's been around for a while, is the Canson Platine Fibre Rag. This is truly a beautiful paper. It is 100% cotton base. It does have still the aesthetic and feel of the original F-type Baryta fibre papers. It is OBA free, and it does have a nice, smooth satin feel. In fact, when you print on Platine, I remember the first time printing on Platine, the image looked quite luminous, almost like it was backlit, and depending on the light that's shining on it, you kind of feel like light is actually emanating from the print. Really, really, really beautiful paper. One thing to note though with the Baryta style papers is that they are less forgiving for image defects when you are printing on the Baryta papers. Image defects like noise, post-processing artifacts, over-sharpening halos, color banding, these will really, really stick out on the Baryta style papers. Okay, so it's not forgiving at all. So unless your image has been treated with due respect during your capture and also during your post-processing, any shortcomings with any of that will be evident in your print. Okay, so let's have a look at the cotton fibre papers. These come in a variety of surface finishes, from smooth to slightly textured to heavy textured. These are the most expensive but highest grade of fine art matte papers. They are a pure cotton rag paper. Visually though, the main difference is they do produce a lower Dmax value than the coated papers, due to the fact that they are just more absorbent. You can see the comparison here on the screen between the same image printed on Platine and edition etching. The one on the left, the Platine, you can see the image is a lot deeper. The shadows are a lot deeper. It almost appears, like I said earlier, that light is emanating from it, whereas the same image printed on edition etching on the right of the screen seems to kind of hold the light. So the Platine gives you the appearance of light emanating from it, whereas the edition etching kind of holds the light and holds the eye, the viewer's eye very, very differently. So once again, how the importance of how choosing the right paper for your image can either make or break the overall message that you're trying to convey, of course. In the art range, in the cotton rag range, Canson edition etching is one of my favorites. This paper here is reminiscent of the original genuine etching papers that were made for printmaking. So they're able to hold excellent image sharpness and optimum color graduation. Okay, so this paper is slightly textured and it does have a slightly warm base, but it is ideal if you really want the details in your work to really shine through and stand out. Okay, so I use this paper not only for color work, but for black and whites as well. My other favorite rag style paper is of course the Canson Rag Photographique. It has beautiful clean lines with a velvet-like finish. This paper here provides one of the highest achievable DMAX currently available on the market for this style paper. Now, having said that, of course, Canson has just released some beautiful new papers which will be available in Australia very soon. And I'm talking about the Arch 88 and the BFK Reeves White and the new Archival. And having had the privilege to test some of these papers, I can truly tell you they're going to be a game changer for this style of paper. Recapping back, the Baryta style papers being Canson Baryta Prestige, smooth satin-like surface, nostalgic for darkroom prints, and of course the Canson Platine Fibre Rag, which gives us a slightly warmer, does have a slightly warmer base, the satin surface finish, but it does give you that enhanced depth as well. Now, in order for you to get up and running with your favorite Canson Infinity paper, is to jump on the website once you've purchased your paper and download the appropriate printer profile. I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. But the role of the printer profile is extremely important because not only it's there to reduce the number of test prints and eliminate them really altogether, because ideally with a proper print profile, what you see on the screen should translate across to the paper. But it's really the most accurate way to print your work. So if you jump on the Canson Infinity website, you go into ICC profiles. The first thing you need to do here is select your printer brand. So I print on Epson, of course, and select your model. Here I'll choose my 9560, and then you can see here all the different papers do come up, and you'll select your favorite paper that you want to print on. And this is extremely important because it will stipulate the media settings. In other words, what you need to set in your printer driver for you to get optimum results. Essentially, though, for more accurate results, you need to get a custom profile made for your printer. Custom profiling is like creating a fingerprint for your printer paper combination, and it's a really accurate way of printing. The can profile straight off the website will get you reasonable results, but custom profiling will take it to a totally different level. Finally, guys, I just want to leave you with a couple of thoughts on why I print. Number one, printing does complete your vision as an artist. Once you print something, it's final. That is your vision and can't be changed. The same thing cannot be said by just having a file on a USB stick that the client then feels compelled to add an Instagram filter before they post it, and so on and so forth. A printed photograph is emotive and personal. You are creating it for someone. It is between you and that person, and that makes it very powerful. I said it before and I'll say it again, the importance of the fact that a printed photograph is archival. It does become an historical document that is passed down from generation to generation. It is such an important part of what we do as photographers. It is a source of income, and it's a good source of income, selling prints. Last but not least, printing does make you a better photographer. It's great being able to edit things on a screen, but however, when you print stuff, you start to see things that don't automatically become apparent sometimes on a computer screen. And any shortcomings in your photography tends to really jump out just purely because of the way that our eye scans a printed image as opposed to just something being backlit on a computer monitor. Printing is all about practice and preference. The practice side of things, the more you do, the more you'll start to understand intuitively what's going to work and what isn't going to work based upon the style of image that you're trying to print on a specific stock of paper. and of course preference. There are no rights or wrong, there are no absolutes in the world of art, and I hope you'll have fun exploring the world of fine art papers through Canson Infinity.